And we are live. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about the Q3 quarterly report that Tesla just released a few hours ago and the earnings conference call that Elon Musk and his team hosted with some questions from analysts. And that's a lot of stuff to take, but nothing but good news. And first of all, Tesla is profitable, and I don't mean by a few bucks, I mean by a lot, over $300 million. And I'll tell you all the numbers in a second. And I think what's even more important and definitely impressive is the performance of Elon Musk. If you watch my channel for more than a few days, you know I do not shy away from criticizing Tesla or Elon Musk when I think it is due, though I am a Tesla owner myself, but I believe that this was as perfect as of a performance by Elon Musk that I've seen in a long time. I'm going to tell you how he managed some of the questions that he didn't want to answer, some of the questions that I believe he would have deemed what was the word that he used? He would have hung up on quite a few people, I think, today if it was like March of this year, and he deflected them very professionally. So I think that is all good news. So yeah, by the way, if this is your first time here on this channel, if you're interested in staying up to date on everything that's going on in the world of Tesla and electric cars, well, click on the subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so I have tons of notes, so I'm going to be looking down just a little bit here and there. But now the profits. Then this is the biggest news, right? Tesla is profitable, $312 million in profits. And so there are two ways how they determine all of the financials and stuff like that. So there are two numbers. Really, the other number is a little bit over 500 million, but this is more conservative one, so I'm going with this one. And here's another mind-blowing news. They are at 20% of gross margin profit on cars, including the Model 3, which was another big news that people really didn't even expect. So neither one of these two things people really expected. By the way, so the revenues were $6.8 billion for the quarter. The stock market, the Wall Street actually expected 6.3 billion, so half a billion less. Well, they were expecting the loss, right? So they're expecting 19 cents per share loss. Tesla ended up with almost $3 of profit per share, $2.90 to be exact. So that was another way how they kicked butt. But we knew how many Model 3s they made. It's about a little bit over 56,000 of Model 3s, which averages out on average about 4,300 Model 3s per week. They did say that they've been making them at over 5,000 cars per week rate. I believe the last week of the quarter they made 5,300 of those Model 3s, and also really high volume of Model S and Model X cars. So the way they were able to achieve this is by decreasing a lot of expenses, including, and this one's a big one, is 30% labor costs. And obviously that can really affect the margins. Of course, as we know, they've also increased the prices here and there, and they were producing until pretty much recently only the top of the line, most expensive versions of this car, and that was part of the plan, and that's fine. By the way, they achieved all this profits with they repaid 82.5 million in bonds that they were supposed to repay. So they did that. They were also very proud of this. They put this chart up. So Tesla Model 3 is number one passenger car in America as far as revenues is concerned, and number 5 in volume. So Toyota Camry and Corolla, and then Honda Civic and Accord are the only other cars, passenger cars in the United States that are being sold in here that that are more sold in higher amounts than Tesla. So all of this is really good. I'm still looking at other things. By the way, let's not forget, so this is not the first profitable quarter that Tesla had. This is actually third one. They did have two profitable quarters before, way back in the day. And but this time around, obviously it matters. This is one of those few times where Elon Musk did not overpromise. He actually underpromised and overdelivered. So that doesn't happen very often, and you got to say a lot of people didn't expect. Even Tesla's biggest fans did not expect it, this is really really big news. And the way they were able to achieve it is also pretty impressive, because a lot of companies out there are complaining that, oh my God, we cannot make these cars because they're not profitable, and if they're not profitable, why would we make them, or why would they make them in such higher numbers? Well, you guys there. And by the way, it's interesting. Now I'm going to go back into I got so many little news here and there that there's like 5 or 6 other things that Elon mentioned, like boom, really quick, that could have been news on their own. Okay. So, but he did mention at the end that, and this was kind of, again, I love his performance today. And again, I'm his biggest critic and I loved his performance today. He basically said, hey, we really tried helping other companies to kind of keep up with us, but they didn't listen, and, we invested, that they didn't invest. Where am I? Where there's so many notes, guys. Okay. Well, oh yeah. So they're saying that they're encouraged, other competitors to get their stuff together, basically, and kind of catch up with them. They said, we try to help them. We opened up all this, patents for them, and we led the way. So basically, all of this whining, especially by Chevy with their Chevy Bolt not being profitable, all of that stuff, that all goes out of the window today, right? Because boom, look at this, 30% margin. Now, there were of course questions about, can they really maintain it? Can they really produce a Model 3 at the $35,000 price break? And Elon said not right now, but in 6 months we will be able to. And I don't think anybody expecting them to make 20% profit margin on the base version, but any profit margin is a success if you ask me. And obviously as far as the example and for other manufacturers. So all of this is good news. Now, let me talk about just some of the Elon's performance and some of the way he navigated this conference call, which I really like. And there's tons and tons of other news, including the Tesla factory in China, when Model 3 is going to be available in Europe and in China, and a bunch of stuff about Model Y. He just kind of mentioned really quick, but I was like, whoa, wait a second, what was that? So I'm going to tell you that in a second. Before that, let me just give a shout out to our sponsor, the Climate Exchange. This is a nonprofit organization, you guys, and they are raffling off 3 Teslas. 3 Teslas, and they're not going to sell more than 4,000 tickets. And the profit margins on this are all going to the nonprofit organization. So that's the great news. So if you don't even win, you're still going to be supporting their cause of moving us to a low carbon economy. But if you do want to check it out, it's in the description of this video. Go and pretty much all of the videos that I'm making today. And if it's not right now, I will definitely put it after the live stream. And they are $250 only in the United States. You can actually purchase those, but good luck. And let me get back to the issue at hand here. And by the way, check out the stock of Tesla that went up in after hours, right? It finished about 2% down, but in after hours just kind of went up by, I took the snapshot maybe around 5 p.m. Pacific. So, and it's about 11% up, almost $290. Now, I'm a little confused by this because, maybe I should do a better job with my graphics, but I was in the rush. I gotta tell you guys, I gathered all of my notes. I listened to some of the other YouTubers and other analysts and read some of the publications because I want to give you like pretty much the whole rundown of what's been happening here. So, hey Dion, just saw you on Ben's channel, so thanks for coming over with me. It was really my intent. Yeah, because before all this struggles with Elon's Twitter and all that stupid stuff that he did, the stock was about $350. So, and I think this news brings the company in much better standing than at that time. So to me, the stock should have been, logically, right? Obviously, I'm no analyst or stock market wizard at all. But to me, logically, it should have been closer to 400. It is at under 300. It would be interesting to see what the stock market does at the beginning of actual trading. Again, this is aftermarket trading that you see on the screen. But still, I'm a little surprised that it wasn't higher than we're seeing right now. So, all right. So let me get back to Elon's performance. this is why I really liked it. First of all, by the way, it was kind of weird because when before they took questions, they were actually talking about safety of the factory and safety of the car and their benefits and healthcare benefits that you get when you work for Tesla and stuff like that, which is all great. All great information. But when you have an amazing quarter like this, historic, as he called it, quarter like this, it's a little weird that they're talking about safety. I'm just saying, I would be just bragging left and right about how they just kicked everyone's butt and how more of this butt kicking is coming. But they ended up kind of talking about that. So I do have to say, you could a little bit see here and there how Elon is a tough boss, if you will, because every time one of his team members, JB or whatever, were talking, he didn't really let them talk for more than like 5 seconds without interrupting. Like he almost like felt like he didn't really trust them to say the right thing, even though he just deflected the question to them. So I can see how he can be a control freak with even his staff, right? So okay, so besides that, there were a lot of questions that people were asking, and there were some questions that he didn't want to answer. For example, somebody asked, what are the qualifications that you guys are looking for the new chairman of the board? And he obviously didn't want to answer it. And he said, well, we're actually going to stick to financial questions. So if you have another one, please ask, but I'm going to deflect it. And I was like, wow, this is what you should be doing all along. This is a professional way of doing it. I get it. You don't want to answer that question. And this is a great and respectful way to deflect that and say no thank you right now, rather than hanging up. Like, contrast that and hanging up on the guy, right, and saying it's a boneheaded question. I just remember the word. So it was really good. And he also, and by the way, here's another thing. He avoided making predictions, especially about the rate. There were a couple of questions about, what is the rate that you expect now for the capacity of the factory, or once you're actually going to start selling Model 3s. Look, what is the rate? What is the rate? Like, there were two questions at least that I remember. And his answers were like, I really don't want to predict. It's really tough to say. Like, great, Elon. Love it. Don't give him any more numbers, because every time you give numbers and you don't get to them, the whole hell breaks loose. And every time you give them numbers and you get to them or beat them, well, okay, right? I just don't see how you win with that. And the fact that he didn't do this time around is just perfect. John Clark in the chat room is liking my t-shirt and asking me if you can ship in Australia. So there are two ways how to get my t-shirts. As you can see, I have quite a few of them, and some of them are just funny electric car t-shirts. It's underneath through Teespring, limited amount, but if you go to my on the description of the video, there's a whole spreadshirt store that you can order this stuff, and I think they can ship it worldwide. But thank you for noticing. This is my new one, and I'm really proud of it. It's kind of cool. All right, so I really like how he deflected the questions, how he stayed away from making predictions. But there's a bunch of other news here. Let's see. We talked about this. We talked about stock and profit and revenues. It's all really awesome. There was a question is whether or not he expects the sales to go down because of the tax credit here in the United States being phased out starting January 1st. And he said, no, I think we have quite a few people who are interested, and none of them are really buying it because it's a cheap car, especially right now. It's not a cheap car. And I agree with him. I don't think the sales are going to go down, at least right now. And because it's not going to be cut, right? It's just going to go down by half. And pretty much in a few months after that, they will be offering a lower version of the Model 3. So that will kind of offset it. And by the way, tomorrow morning, I'm going to release a video about, a lot of people asking me, should I buy whatever's available right now, which is a mid-range, I guess, at $46,000. Yes, they just raised the price only a few days after announcing it by $1,000. So $46,000. Or should I wait for the Model 3 that's at $35,000 next year, but the federal tax credit is going to be cut? So I'm going to explain it to you, and I think I have a pretty good idea what my advice to you guys is. So that video is going to be uploaded and posted tomorrow morning, California time. And only more reason to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you are not a Patreon member, browse to patreon.com/e4electric. I do all of my videos there live. Let's see. When you're buying a Model 3, Alex, Audi e-tron is poor range, is less than 220 miles. I don't even understand this comment because the Audi e-tron is actually higher than that. But All right. Right now, let's just concentrate on this, and I'll take some questions after that. So please do type them into the chat room, and those who are watching this in the replay, you guys can actually still see the chat afterwards, and the questions are being asked. Okay, so here's some big news. A Model Y news. Elon said that he actually just approved the design for prototype production of Model Y. If I understood this correctly, and I think I did, so it looks like there is a design of a prototype of Model Y out there somewhere, and it is moving forward. He said that they're still hoping to put it in production in 2020. So that's really, really interesting news about Model Y, and we haven't really heard much about it, but it looks like they've made a major step in moving forward with that. So that's one about Model Y. Oh, Model 3 sales in Europe. When is it actually going to be in Europe and China? And he did have an answer. So Model 3 is going to be in production for European market in January, and it looks like he said late February or early March. So let's just say March. That's when the European market will start getting the Model 3. So that's pretty big news, I would say, right? That's just a big news on its own. So yeah, Model 3 is going to be in Europe in March, so that's exciting. In second quarter, it looks like it's going to be in China. Now let's talk about China, because obviously there were questions about the new factory that's being built in China, a pretty aggressive timeline. But Elon was even more aggressive with that. And I'm not sure if it was Elon or one of the other executives that mentioned this, but the factory that they're building there right now, they're actually hoping to start making some Model 3 parts by the end of the year. And I know a lot of people are raising their eyebrows and saying, well, that's impossible. Actually, and I'm going to tell you that myself, because I just visited China and I was visiting the up and coming factory for Byton. That's a startup that's headquarters in China. And I visited their up and coming factory, and I've learned a lot about how business is done in China. And construction. And to be honest with you, that is not a far-fetched plan for a part of the factory to be up and operational by the end of the next year, which is more than 12 months. That is not even a problem, I don't think, from what I understand. And yes, you can make some parts, especially you can ship some of the Model 3s to China, maybe without some of the parts that are last ones to install, and then install them there, basically kind of finish the assembly with the parts that are locally produced, obviously cheaper, and they won't be there won't be tariff applied for them. And let me remind you, the tariff is like 40% right now. It went from 25 to 15 and now back to 40. So I can totally see that happening. I can totally see them shipping those Model 3s to China, without the final assembly. And as long as they can put some of those parts for the final assembly there and be able to test it, which I also think is very, very, very possible, they should be absolutely on track on that. So I think that, I understand why it would be skeptical, here in the United States or Canada or in Europe, but in China, things happen very, very quickly. Now, Igor Kids says the European market is bigger than the USA market for cars. I mean, that could be true, but especially for electric cars, I would agree with you. Especially, I think incentives are a little bit more stable there. And I know United Kingdom, the UK right now, just kind of roll their plug-in hybrid incentives completely back and lower the electric car incentive. But as far as electric cars is concerned, overall, you're right. I think Europe is but China is the #1 market, undisputably, and will continue to be so in probably next 2 years for sure. Okay, so that was a very interesting mention that he had about the factory. Oh, the energy products. Like, no one's talking about energy products because there's kind of funny. One of my most popular videos on my channel is about one of the very first houses that had the solar roof, and you can see that my original interview and my drone footage and some of the follow-up with numbers. You can see that on my channel, but they are selling energy products, especially storage products, and that is really kind of ramping up. That is definitely going to be, as I originally predicted, maybe even a bigger part of their income at some point, because the energy products are really amazing. And if there's competition, in the car market, I can see that. But in the energy market, I really think they are, absolute leaders there without almost any competition. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Yeah, so a lot of their revenues are now coming from their energy, former Solar City not subsidiary, but part of the company, for the lack of a better word. And they also mentioned some of the interesting software features they've been adding. Like we know all the soft features and upgrades that they're doing for the cars, but they're actually doing the same thing for the solar roof and for their power walls, which is really cool. Because I guess there's such a thing as storm watch. So the storm watch feature is when if there's a forecast for the storm, when you know that there might be some issues with the energy, you might really need the energy, then the power wall makes sure that that charges itself all the way to full, and maybe even gets it from the power grid, just to make sure if there is a storm, if the power grid is not available, if obviously sun is not available, then it will actually be fully charged, which is a great feature, right? And I never even thought about software features that you can do for the solar roof and for the power wall, but there will be quite a few. I just I saw it in the report because I decided to read the whole damn thing, because a lot of people concentrate on exciting parts, but I think there's some jewels that you can find in the actual report. So that was one of them. I really never thought about all these cool features that you can do for your home, for your power wall, and for your solar panels. Okay, so some people are joining. Victor is asking, so what is the profit? Okay, so the Tesla is profitable, $312 million in profits, and this is into the more conservative accounting practice. And $2.90 per share versus 19-cent loss per share of expectation. And so just tons and tons of good news. This stream is going to be reposted, so you can just watch it. I kind of uploaded the old information up front that everybody's kind of talking about, but Ted Jett is asking, saying Tesla revolution. It is Tesla revolution. This is something that I think we've all been expecting a while back. And, I'm looking back at this year, this things that have been kind of, happening all year long to get to this point, right? To get all of this great news. And unfortunately, so much of it was Elon's just going crazy and a lot of broken promises and stuff like that. And I'm really, really hoping that this is really, and maybe Elon learned his lesson. The way he was on the earnings call today was absolutely awesome. I absolutely love it. Maybe he will continue being this Elon that is calculated, calm, and proud of his company, and is able to run these without any issues or kind of hissy fits that he used to throw in, and it looks like the Twitter mistakes are going to be very limited because of the SEC settlement, which I think is the best part of the whole thing, of this SEC settlement that will benefit the Elon and Tesla, because he really he really won't be able to tweet about it. Philip Burns asks, are you happy about it or disappointed? Am I happy? I'm not disappointed about anything. I'm just disappointed that there was so many negative news that Elon Musk created over the year, when we could have been talking about all this exciting stuff all the year long. But I am definitely happy about, where Tesla is. Secondly, I'm happy for the entire industry, because, there's going to be no more excuses that electric cars cannot be profitable, because they are now, and, everybody else should just catch up. And that's great news for everybody, not just Tesla owners or fans. Can you up your mic volume? Actually, it's pretty much up. It's actually picking in the red here, so I can. Otherwise, you just have to kick the volume up, or maybe if you're listening through a Bluetooth device, sometimes you can also put it on your Bluetooth device. But you're the first one who mentioned this. Eco Kids, listen, man, you got to stop trolling. I'm sorry. We're talking about, you can talk crap about Audi if you want, and that's fine. We can have a discussion about it some other time. I think you're wrong about some of this, but let's talk about Tesla today. We're talking about Tesla, and I'm being very positive about, because there's so many positive news. Not really sure why you're dragging this conversation into other territories, but I'll be more than happy to take that debates in some other live stream. And by the way, I'm going to be doing live streams, well, maybe even regularly, but I'm definitely going to do another subscriber hangout this probably Saturday or Sunday. So subscribe to the channel and check it out. Then you can ask me questions about Audi all day long if you want. So, but no, this is great news. I'm very happy. Now, okay, if you want me to be negative for a little bit, let me just mention that all of this great news is obviously if you're an investor and Tesla fan, which is great. But don't forget, there are some things that customers have to sacrifice in order for Tesla to get here. For example, I even talked about it yet, but Model S and Model X interior options are going away, some of them, and they will be very limited for some time. As you know, the price of the mid-range just went up by $1,000, and that has happened before. In a long range, Model 3 price just went up as well as far as the base possible the lowest amount of you can pay for the base, even though they now include all-wheel drive. The paint options have gone away, and there's some paint options that a lot of people really like have gone away. All of this to simplify production and increase margins, right? So we understand it, and it's great that the earnings report is great, but don't forget, earnings report is for the investors and for fans, if you will. But for the owners, is actually, owners had to kind of sacrifice quite a few things, and future owners will as well, as they're ordering these cars maybe at a higher price, maybe with less options that they want, and that includes Model S and Model X. So yeah, so I'm just saying, there's both sides of the coin, but I think there are plenty of people who are willing to do that to get their cars maybe in a second choice of color, but so the Tesla can keep on rolling. Now, I think Elon was very clear, and that was kind of expected, that Q4 would be just as good, if not better. I'm assuming better, and Tesla should be profitable from now on. As you know, the factory in China, they're actually getting a loan there. So I know people say, well, they shouldn't really be raising any more money. Well, they're not raising money, and I guess they are in terms of getting a loan. So that's. Oh, another thing that he mentioned. Let me go back to the energy products for just a second. It is they're expecting the energy product sales to go down a little bit in the Q4, and it is not for any other reason, because it's more of a seasonal product, right? Especially solar panels and solar batteries, solar panel powered batteries are all obviously generating much better results during summer, during sunny days, and when we go into winter and snow and rain. That's not the best time necessarily to buy yourself an expensive solar system, because your return on your investment is not going to be as high immediately as it would be if you invested maybe in March or going to summer. So they're fully aware of that, and they're saying that don't expect the revenues to be as good, but they will be close enough. Let's see. Lean back so I can see your t-shirt, says J-Web. Well, I mean, that's actually really just that. There's another one that says stay charged, but there's quite a few of them. There's one right now says never forget with the oil pump, and there's quite a few other ones. My favorite one says my car needs a lawyer because it's been charged with battery. I thought it was pretty funny. So, and I have other ones that you can see in the store. And by the way, thank you for supporting me. When you buy these t-shirts, actually you're supporting the show. As you know, I went full time with this, kind of taking a big risk right now. I even had to move for the first time in my life. I now live in Sacramento. In my little tiny home here, which I'm enjoying because I'm finally doing this full time. But thank you for supporting the show. Those of you who are Patreons, of course, thank you. You get to watch me live every day, and some exclusive content for you as well. If you guys haven't joined, I would appreciate it if you at least give it a shot at patreon.com/E4Electric. Yeah, let me see. Oh yeah, here's another big news that I kind of forgot. So Elon Musk said that Tesla, and I don't remember him saying this like for sure, but they're now saying yes, Tesla will have its own ride-sharing service. It will compete with Uber and Lyft, and we're doing it. He said that yes, those who own their private cars will be able to either kind of contribute to the fleet, or there will be another service that Tesla might even run themselves, where it's kind of an Airbnb type, where you can have your own personal car being rented out. But it looks like Tesla is going to be going into that business. And again, unless I missed something, this is the first time I hear Elon mentioning it like this strongly. Like, we are definitely doing that. So that's definitely good news and good. Oh, another thing, Elon did get choked up a little bit when from the very beginning, again, I don't know when people cry on TV or whatever, whether it's honest or not. I think every time he did that before, I thought it was genuine. But he when he was talking about Tesla customers, and I have a video about that we did here in Sacramento area. where Tesla customers, existing customers, helped Tesla deliver their Model 3s at the end of this quarter, right? They were obviously short staffed trying to deliver all these Model 3s. So they basically had the big base, a fan base of Tesla owners who came out and really helped educate and train the new owners on their cars. And Elon really almost kind of choked up talking about it. He said, "I've never heard or seen anything like this with any other brand," and he was kind of lost for words of how appreciative he was for those who did that. And just like I said, I did a video about that that we did here at the service center in Rockland, California. So let's see. Artyom is asking, "Hey Artyom, how are you? Sorry you may have covered, but any news on when the cheap Model 3 will be available?" He really tried to stay away from like any type of promises and any type of numbers, which I absolutely loved. I think that's the right way to do it because it only gets him in trouble, right? Never gets him anything good really at the end of the day. It looks like it's still 6 months. The only number that I remember he mentioned is 6 months. I think on their website it says 4 to 6, but at least they are more comfortable and confident that they're actually going to be bringing this version to market, and still be able to make profit because of the progress that they've made with the current version, and the profit margin and how they were able to keep the labor costs down. And it's really, really phenomenal. Just like I said, everyone's shocked by this. Tesla fans, Tesla haters, and then there's me in the middle. I'm shocked as well. So it's been definitely a really, 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 really good day for Tesla. Can't wait to see what the stock's going to be at tomorrow. Not that it's really essentially a great indication of where the company stands. So it's definitely just like, I don't know if Artyom you were here when I mentioned it. I'm actually going to release the video tomorrow where I compare whether or not you should buy a Tesla Model 3 right now if you're on a budget, or if you should wait until the $35,000 version, in 6 months, let's say. And that answer got a little more complicated now that there is a mid-range. But I can definitely tell you that I have a very, very good specific answer, to those of us who are in the United States, and we're kind of figuring out, well, what to do about the price is going down, but the tax credit is going down along with it. But I made a few other points that I think a lot of people are not necessarily calculating in that will help him decide. Now, by the way, they did raise the price today for the mid-range by $1,000 to $46,000, and they reduced the range. They reduced the all-wheel drive option by $1,000. That's a fifth time they've played around with that price, which essentially lowered the long-range base version to 53. So if you were to compare those two, let's say if the all-wheel drive was available on a mid-range, if you compare those two, those 50 extra miles that you're getting are really only costing you extra $3,000. So between the mid-range right now and the long range, I think the bang for your buck is definitely the long range, right? Because just extra $3,000, but you are also then having to pay for all-wheel drive. So that's and that video is also coming up tomorrow morning. Let's see. I'm just seeing if I missed any other notes. Let's see, end of 2019, Model 3. Yeah, so I think, and I know if you missed this one as well, but Model 3 is going to be available in Europe by March. And it looks like this is the first time they've created a timeline. Dion says our incentive for EVs in New Zealand is we got to use the bus lane. Yes, here we also have an HOA lane, carpool lane. Though here in California, and I made a video about that also, it's a little weird because now, like for example, my car is 2015, it's fully electric, and because it was made before 2016, my carpool lane sticker will expire in another few months, but my Chevy Volt that can take gas and run on gas, and some people actually buy Volts and just only use it for to run it on gas, that carpool sticker only now will expire only in 2 or 3 years from now. So that's crazy that my car that I can run on gas will continue to be able to use the carpool lane, but my all-electric Tesla 2015 is not going to be. But this is California, so we don't always make sense. I know. Did I talk about safety? I did talk that they talk about safety, but I mean, but I thought it was just weird that instead of celebrating and saying how amazing all of their revenues were and how historic of a quarter this was, and they ended up talking about safety at the factory, which they're claiming is lower than average in the industry, which they have done before. They also talking about the healthcare coverage and healthcare coverage on site, and the number of major accidents that are much less. But I think we've kind of all know that they've had that narrative all along, and of course. WTF Cali, says Dave Vale. You know what? That is actually the name of my thumbnail for that video. Is literally WTF Cali about the carpool stickers. I know it's just stupid, but also think about it. Here in California, I don't know, maybe in other states. So the whole point of carpool lane is that if you have somebody else in your car, that person is not polluting the air by taking that car, but by taking another car, right, going in the same destination. So a lot of times people commute to work or to school or whatever, and that makes sense. But then also, if you have a baby on board, you also get to use a carpool lane, even though I really don't think that too many babies have driver licenses in California. It looks that way, but that's not the case. So I don't really get the whole thing. But I gotta tell you, carpool lane is not as fast as it used to be. As a matter of fact, a lot of times it's just as slow because there's so many electric cars, at least here in Silicon Valley and now in California and generally. I'm saying here in Silicon Valley like I still live there. That it's really, the benefits are not as what it used to be. John Braun Anderson says, seems a bit amateurish for Tesla to adjust prices so quickly after the initial announcement. Yeah, I agree. I don't get it. They priced it at $45,000, and you're talking about mid-range Model 3, and then all of a sudden they decided to raise it by $1,000. Yeah, people are saying because they got so much demand for the car, but either predict it, you have people to predict this, or just keep it the same way. I mean, you have no problems. I mean, it's not like, you can definitely raise the prices of almost all Teslas now by $5,000, and because of the backlog, you can probably sell them. So just price them once and for all. The whole point of direct to consumer sales is that you don't have to haggle, and they're just kind of haggling between themselves, really, up, down. Just like I said, the all-wheel drive option for Model 3. This is the fifth time they changed that. Fifth time in what, 6 or 7 months? That's insane. And I think it confuses customers, and I think a lot of a lot of times people saying, well, I can buy something like Tesla right now, but then tomorrow it could be less. Like I could have saved myself money if I waited for 1 or 2 weeks, and that doesn't give people probably a good feeling. Let me know if you guys care or not, because some people go, I don't care. They innovate, they go fast, so I don't really care. But I care. Like I bought my 2015, my other one, Tesla, and like 3 months later they did a front end refresh. Now I know Elon just tweeted saying, oh no, this is not a refresh. We're just always doing something, but that's a refresh. When my car can easily be identified as outdated by looking at it, it's a refresh. Let's see. Yeah, Dion says they do need to be more stable with pricing. It's not even that hard to be stable with pricing, right? At least within 5 days, it should be easy. All right, so guys, this is definitely a great day for Tesla. Probably one of the best, definitely the best day I think this year. And again, I know all of this information and the Q3 report and the stock price and all of this stuff is very exciting, but I think I'm still gonna be going, with how the most excited I am, and it's about Elon Musk and his performance. It looks his Twitter announcements have been mentally stable, I would say. Most of them were positive, something that something that you can just it's all good news. I think the announcements were timely. I think his behavior now on this call was absolutely perfect. Actually, I wish he would talk more, especially in the beginning, because this was kind of his time to gloat, and he kind of yielded his time to some of his team members, which was great, and which he interrupted every 5 seconds. But I thought this was a great time for him to gloat, and he didn't do that, which is still, that still it's pretty good. So I'm definitely excited about to see what's going to happen, obviously next quarter, and what's going to happen with the stock price. I think they're going to figure some things out. I mean, obviously their version 9 software didn't go very well, and the most important feature they're still working on, and it looks like the update that they're rolling out now, which is essentially, I think it was Navigate by Autopilot, no, Autopilot by Navi, whatever, it looks like it still will not change lanes on its own. They will propose a lane change when it sees that it needs to take an exit to get you to your destination, but you still have to approve it. So there are quite a few things they have to fix, but I think almost everything is going in the right direction for them right now, including factory in China. Looks like Model Y is on the horizon. He did talk about the pickup truck, nothing new at all, but I really think that was actually great that he mentioned it, because it does seem like it's a project now. Let's see. I'm just looking at in the chat. If the average American saves $7,500 in taxes at the end of the year, the economy would crash. This is fact, says the Lightning comment. Yeah, that probably is true, but that's not going to happen, because that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can also say if everybody in America will have an electric car and charge it at home, our power grid would crash. Yes, it will. And it will crash anywhere in the world. Everything needs to be in moderation. Everything needs to be step by step. And obviously, if there will be so many people buying these electric cars, the tax credit will be phased out, or our Congress. Not that I have much of trust in general about any of our politicians. I'm not trying to take sides here. Or not our politicians, just in other countries as well. But overall, I kind of think that they will still end up kind of discontinuing that, knowing that we do no longer need, because so many people are actually buying them. So your statement is true, but just like, if every single person will sleep an extra hour a day, we will make less money in taxes as we won't be productive. Awful example, actually, but I think you know what I mean. I had another brain fart earlier today for my video where I couldn't multiply two simple numbers, and I was trying to make a point and just completely blew my brain all over my video. So I had to literally post like a little, oops, my bad, I'm an idiot, all right, sorry, as a pinned comment for my earlier video today. So yeah, my bad. Pickup truck and Model Y will launch together in March 2019, says EcoKids. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, but we'll see. Ronan says, hello, very impressive quarter. I have to say it is, again, as you're an investor, but if your customer, things are just gotten a little bit worse for you as far as your choices. Just so we're clear on that. The paint options, the interior options, and sometimes pricing and availability also. All right, guys, if you have not joined me on Patreon, please make sure to join me on Patreon to support the show. Patreon.com/E4Electric. Of course, if you want to shop for some t-shirts, but most importantly, if you want to stay up to date on everything that's going on in the world of electric cars, you came to the right place. There's a subscribe button down there. Hit that. It's free. It's a free subscription. Never ever you have to pay for it, and I would appreciate that. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, click on the thumbs up. So it's been really awesome. I'm sure there will be other interesting news that people pick from this report, and I'll do that. But tomorrow I will see you once again live on Patreon, not live on YouTube, but I will do a subscriber Q&A on Saturday or Sunday. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.